back to Naked News. This is episode 4, and we have a few good articles for you tonight. First of all, we're going to start with a little discussion on Steam Early Access. So for those who are not sure what Steam Early Access is, it is developers have the ability to put a game up on Steam well before it's done. It could be in any state. It could be in a beta, it could be in an alpha, it could be in what they like to call a pre-alpha right now as well. And it usually comes with a disclaimer saying, be aware, this is not a finished game, this is not representative of the final product. And they sell their game sometimes at a discount, sometimes at regular price, depending on what it is, and they go from there. What do you think about Steam Early Access, Glenn?
I'm impartial to it. I don't mind it so much. I don't see why there's any kind of negative connotation to it. But if you'd like to go ahead and elaborate, then I can go ahead and throw in my 2 cents.
So there's good things in Steam Early Access, and there's some not so good things with Steam Early Access. For me, a good example of Steam Early Access, because there's lots of comments going back and forth between the developers and the gamers and everybody else, is something like Daisy. It's being developed. Everybody can see that it's being developed. They do updates quite often, and they explain what they're doing. Something that's in the middle of that right now is Rust. However, Rust is actually doing well. It's just that a lot of people are not looking in the right spots for the information. All they notice is that there's been no updates for a while and nothing's coming very fast. It's because they're rebuilding the game pretty much from scratch. Another good one is 7 Days to Die. They're updating quite often and they're very active with the community. Then there's other games where people are just wondering what's going on, it's stalled, there's nothing happening. So Rust is kind of that example where a lot of people don't understand what's going on because there hasn't been updates in months, and it's just taking forever to get any information out about it.
Okay, so here's my take on it, is basically early access is good when you want to experience a game prior to its release and you want to give updates to the developer about the game itself. It doesn't cost anything usually, but I can tell, like, when you play early access games, there's a lot of little bugs here and there, so that might take away from the gaming experience itself. Although the goal isn't to be playing a fully playable game, it's to kind of give the developers information back, correct?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are taking it as, sweet, I get to play the game now, and I don't really care what it is, I'm just kidding. It's that mentality of I want it now.
Yeah, which I think is the wrong way of looking at it. The other thing, too, is, like you said, there's a lot of disconnects between the developers and the actual gamers themselves. I think what needs to happen is there needs to be at least one dedicated person from the development team, or maybe from that game design company, that just kind of sits there and moderates everything going on. I don't know if that's because, like, they kind of let the forums go rampant, or if they just need to have, like, one single, like, room where it's like people can post things, you know. I'm not trying to give, like, a fix for it. I'm just trying to make some sense out of it. I guess the other thing that is kind of strange about it is I think they should maybe set, like, a certain limit onto how many people can do early access, because I think that would kind of cut down on some of the confusion, and also at the same time it would help them kind of narrow it down as far as, like, issues. Now, if you're trying to do, like, a game that's, like, massive multiplayer and you want to, like, really test the servers for that, I can understand them having, like, thousands and thousands or, you know, millions of people playing it. But at the same time, it's just a development version. It's not the actual game itself.
You see, there's some issues that are coming up. Is there was a game recently that it wasn't finished, and it was not very close to being finished, and the developer said, I can't work on this anymore. We're going to start working on number 2. Or they were going to start working on some other project, and people who had paid money in early access are sitting there with an incomplete game.
Yeah, and they're thumb up their butt.
Yeah, and the developer's is like, well, sorry.
Nice.
Taken off.
That's not nice, actually.
Another thing is The Forest, I think it's called, just came out recently, and it's labeled as a pre-alpha. Like, to me, why would your first choice be to put that out on Steam if you are not even like you're a pre-alpha should probably be like a year or two away from being finished, I would think, wouldn't it?
I, I,
It
Pre-alpha would be way before that. I
yes,
don't even know why you would even put pre-alpha on Steam.
and this
Pre-alpha would make sense to me if you were just doing it with a developer group amongst yourselves.
yeah, and
Because you're
so
talking about so broken, like somebody could log in and it breaks, or somebody couldn't even log in.
well they don't even have save features in the games right now.
What the?
It's like it's something that I was reading about on the forums, and but I came up with an idea today that I was just thinking of. I'm thinking early access games need to also have a guideline set for themselves too. Like if you're going to be an early access game, you need to have a date of when you are going to be finished with such and such features in the game. And if by that point you don't have the game finished or you don't have those features, then a refund should be available to people who paid for early access.
That's interesting. I like that concept. I think it's on Steam though, really, to kind of guide those developers to say, hey, cut this shit out. Let's do things right, and don't give us your crappy pre-development, pre-beta, or pre-alpha game. you know, don't. The thing is, you don't want to set gamers' expectations up extremely low, anyways, and give them crap.
Well, it's kind of a general problem with Steam right now is they had the whole green light thing. Well, Steam, before any of that, it was hard for games to actually get on there. Like if a game made it onto Steam, it pretty much meant that it was a great game and it should be on their market, right?
Yeah.
And then things started sliding a bit and more games were making it. They were still the good games right at that time. And then they started the green light thing. And green light was being watched for fairly heavily on what would make it through and what wouldn't make it through. And then I guess people complained that nothing was really getting through greenlight, so then they just opened it up for everybody.
Yeah.
And so now there's a lot more random stuff that could be good, could be bad. It's making it through, right? As well on Steam, which I guess there's really nothing wrong with it, but there is a ton of phone ports. Like these games that are smartphone games and tablet games that are now on Steam with an HD label, and they're a couple dollars more or whatever than it would be on the phone or tablet. It's not really an early access thing, but I don't know, it's just some problems that I'm seeing with what Steam's doing. Is there's a ton of crap on there.
Well, what they need is, again, it's all about a moderator. If they have a proper moderator going through these games, and I know that there's like millions of games probably that go in and out of Steam all the time, but they really need to moderate that much better. And it's unfair for the developers, and at the same time, it's like you have developers that put out crap. So
One of the biggest comments I see on the forums for these early access games is people they're defending them saying, well, it says early access, you shouldn't buy it. Well, what about that example where the developer just said, I can't do it anymore, I'm going to go work on another project, and he took the money and left with an unfinished game? Like,
then what Steam should do is legally fine him, and then return all those people's monies back.
something like that. But that
I think
it's
it's within the agreement of the developer putting out a game and taking people's money and not refunding them. That kind of is not only making the developer look bad, but it should be on the developer, not so much Steam. And then Steam should legally be able to pursue that person
yeah,
because that's still a business transaction.
there's definitely some things that I think need to be looked at because there is a lot of games now on there that are on the front page or in their top sellers and stuff that are early access. It's outnumbering, well, maybe not outnumbering, but it feels like it's overwhelming the games that are actually complete.
Yeah. All right.
So next up we have Google's prototype electric self-driving car seats two and has no steering wheel.
This is pretty cool. The video actually shows the vehicle driving around with people in it, and shows the how it handles and stopping and going and stuff like that. And it actually gives the people's feedback onto the vehicle. It's pretty fantastic looking. How do you feel about this?
Well, it's definitely a cool idea, and it's the way things are going. Self-driving cars, it's going to happen at some point. But what happens when something goes wrong with the car?
Yeah, and that's an interesting like thought because just recently I believe they were talking about cars like new cars nowadays getting hacked and like electronic steering systems being overridden to like instantly turn right or your car just shutting down and stuff like that. And hackers have learned how to do this. It's not like I'm not talking pretend land. I'm talking real life.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, these are all things that we have to take into consideration. Even Ford and I think a few other automakers out there are now creating firewalls within the ECM or ECUs of the cars, which is pretty crazy. Um, Thinking about that because now you're going to have like this whole another job market open up for car security, and
So,
not like beep beep my car alarm, but actual electronic security.
but like, what happens when the car keeps going when it's a red light, and all of a sudden you're like, car, stop, car, stop.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure how they would fail safe something like that. My main thing that I was looking at though, that's definitely a con. But as some of the pros is they had an example of a blind man who actually would get inside the vehicle and it would take him to places, and he was saying how normally that part of his life is hindered by that, and he's not able to do a lot of things because of his ability of not to be mobile. And
Mhm.
now with this, it would give him the ability to go places and do more things. And I think that's an awesome ability. I think it's a great option. And at the same time, I think that Google's really taking things one step at a time. But I could foresee something even bigger than this being self-driving buses, um, a lot of self-driving vehicles, not just cars like buses, trains, airplanes. Eventually, the thing about
Scary.
this that kind of makes me nervous is that would kill a huge job sector for people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would definitely take away a lot of jobs that people need these days. I just thought of an interesting. So, like, this car could potentially drive into a parking lot and find a spot, and then with the blind guy, for example, he gets out, and then he has to find his way back to the parking lot and find his car in the parking lot too.
Well, no, here's the thing: is like what I'm thinking that they'd probably do is just have it drop him off, you know, at a drop-off point.
And his car takes off on him.
Yeah, and his car just like leaves him basically, and then it comes back once he summons it somehow. But I mean, even not being a blind guy, just being a regular person, I mean, that would be pretty awesome.
That'd
Your car
be
could go to a remote like charging station, charge itself if it was an electric car, and drive back and come pick you up.
that'd be really weird when like the first versions come out. You just see a car going along by itself.
Yeah, I'll tell you. You know what this will do? This would make me drive around a lot drunker all the time.
Could you get
I thought
that would be, oh man, there's a lot of weird stuff there. So you're sitting in a car. I guess that'd be all right. Like, officer,
you're not
I'm not, I'm
operating
not,
it.
I'm not driving. I'm not doing
You're just
it.
well, not only that, but think of all the accidents it would prevent. All these people that are coming drunk from the club at night. Excuse me if there's anybody under the age of 21 or 18, but all these people that are drunk driving home killing people would just cease with these self-driving cars, self-driving taxis,
unless they,
self-driving anything.
unless they have these problems where it starts going at a red light and it just keeps driving.
Yeah, but they said that they've had what was it? Google actually released a report that said they had some low or none amount of car crashes with the self-driving vehicles.
Mhm. It's definitely an interesting idea, and it'll be neat to see where it goes. And last up for tonight, a little bit different. Wildstar, the early start or the head start to it started, and the game for me is great. There's a lot of people that don't like MMOs, and I've been putting quite a few hours into it so far, and it is a ton of fun for me. Um, you were watching me play a little bit of it. What did you think of what you saw?
I thought it had a lot of aspects of the old Republic, online game, and it also had a lot of aspects of World of Warcraft. It looks really cool though.
Yeah,
It's not really my bag, but it's pretty cool.
the art style, I like that cartoony kind of very colorful art style. That's perfect for me. Like World of Warcraft, that's one of the things that drew me to it was the way they did it, like the Warcraft 3 thing and going back further, all that kind of stuff was really cool. And the way I look at it is it's like a really solid mix between World of Warcraft mechanics and gameplay and Guild Wars 2. In both games I've played a lot of, and this one falls right in between those, so it's great. But that game is available for purchase. Well, it has been for a while. If you haven't pre-ordered it, it starts in another couple days for the actual game. And I think if you buy it now, you still might even be able to get in on their head start. And it's pretty cool. If you haven't seen it, go take a look at their website and look at some videos. It's definitely worth a look because it's going to be one of the stronger MMOs to come out lately. Not to mention some other recent releases that seem like big piles of poop.
Yep.
Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you next time.
See you guys.
Can you hear me?
No, let's start over.
Oh, are you fucking serious?
Outtake number one.
Just start talking about it now because I'll cut this part out.
Fuck you. All right. I didn't hear the question. You cut out.
I had asked, what do you think about Steam Early Access right now?